Then Shining Armor left the library, and Starlight started to begin doing her study again. But she was so excited and couldn't focus on her magic studying because she was so excited for her date with Shining Armor. For her, it felt like a dream to come true. She even then left the library to tell Twilight about it. And Twilight, well, she wasn't that surprised because she already felt that could happen, but she played to be surprised. And later that day, Starlight couldn't even stop focusing and hoping for this day to go well. She even talked about this to some of her friends like Pinky and Rarity. And Pinky, she was so excited also, and she wanted to make a party for it, but Starlight said, no thanks to Pinky, it's not that to be excited for. But the only Pinky that said, bummer, Pinky, party pooper. But Rarity, she was more not that excited. She was just happy for her friend to have a date. She even offered her to help her to find a dress for the evening. But Starlight didn't know if she would just to wear a dress or just a ribbon. But Rarity suggested to wear some sort of dress just for the first date she had. Then Starlight was thinking, and then agreed with Rarity and accepted her offer, and she stood for a model for Rarity and tried several dresses. Some of her old designs, some new designs, and something she just came up with. Then she found out the most perfect, a light red dress with the end of it with some shape of roses. At the same time, Shining Armor, he had left the castle and just walking around the town and walked into Spike and Big Macintosh, who was just sitting at the park and just talking about their guy night they have. And they were actually not that surprised either, because they already know that Starlight liked him. And Shining Armor didn't know that at first, but since then they told him, he was actually not that surprised. But then the evening came, and Starlight was so nervous. She was hoping this date would go well, so she was waiting at the entry. And then she saw Shining Armor just came down the stairs from his guest room, and he was literally taken aback. He wasn't prepared to see her in a dress that was so beautiful. He even commented that her dress was so beautiful that she was even adorable. And she said thanks, and they went to this local restaurant which recently opened. And to surprise, they had all kinds of food to choose from. From the sea ponies world, and from the western part, the south, the north, all kinds of food from almost any directions. Even from Saudi Arabia or Griffithstone. Some of the more exotic food had also been introduced to this. And they actually then decided to try almost any dish from almost every corner of the Equestria and some other exotic countries. And they both had a really good time at this date. Starlight had never had so much fun in a long time. And even Shining Armor could notice that. So Starlight, how do you like this date so far? Starlight looked at Shining Armor with a smile and said, I'm actually having a great time. I'm glad to hear it. Would you like to be student of Twilight? It is different. I never been a student to any other opponents since school, said Starlight. But Twilight isn't actually tough one. She gives me tough lessons, but all the worth it. Starlight then talked with Shining Armor for another hour, and they both left the restaurant about 8:30, and they decided just to take a walk through town, just to relax. And after that, they went back to the castle, where they said goodnight to each other. And the next few days, Shining Armor and Starlight spent so much time together, but then he told her that he had to go back to Canterlot soon, because his permission leave was almost ended. Just to hear that made Starlight sad, but she knows that he will be back soon enough. But then, of course, Starlight and Shining Armor promised to write letters to each other as often as they could. And the next few days after Starlight saw Shining Armor return back to Canterlot, she spent most of her time either with herself or with her friends, just to come over to miss that she misses Shining Armor so much. And even Twilight could notice that Starlight really loves Shining Armor so much. Then she even asked Starlight if she would like to follow with company with her to Canterlot within a week or so, or a royal meeting. And Starlight didn't mind that at all, since she has no other friendship lessons to do in Ponyville for several days. And she decided to take a break from her studies to accompany with Twilight back to Canterlot. When Twilight was doing her meeting with the other princesses, she, of course, Starlight then had no other business to do, so she just walked around town to see what else they can see. She even visits on the local museums, art studios, and ate some of the local diners, restaurants. And after a while, she was kind of bored. She was hoping for some excitement. But then she remembered that Shining Armor is in Canterlot, so she decided maybe she could visit him at the castle. So she went up to the castle, and sure enough, there he was. But she didn't know if Shining Armor was in duty or off duty at the time. But she saw that he was not in duty. She was talking to some other mayors, but she could see that they were actually guards as well. And after they left, he saw her. Charlie, Starlight! Starlight went up to Shining Armor and they gave each other a hug. And they talked to each other, and he asked her why she's there. Well, then Starlight explained that she was there with Twilight for the royal meeting. She was actually in her company. And Starlight was not allowed. She wasn't part of the meeting. But she decided to just explore the town. But Shining Armor, he was still happy to see her, even they haven't seen each other for at least a while now. So he asked her if she was hungry or just wanted something to do. She wasn't especially hungry, but then he offered maybe she might take an ice cream with him. And she said yes. So they went to this local ice cream shop nearby. So they talked to each other when they were eating the ice cream. And during the time, Shining Armor even asked if Starlight would like to be his girlfriend, and she actually said yes about it. And after this royal meeting was over, Twilight went out to look for Starlight, and then she saw that she was with Shining Armor. She was laughing, both of them was laughing, and just had a great time. So Twilight decided not to interrupt, to leave them by themselves. So she went back to her room. Later that evening, Starlight went to her room, and Twilight then knocked on her door, and they talked about for a bit, see how she was happy when she was doing her meeting, and Starlight then explained every detail what she had done during the day, even with Shining Armor. And when she told that her brother was actually had been asked her to be his girlfriend, and Twilight was happy to that her brother had someone special on Pony now. And after they both returned back to Ponyville, Starlight and Shining Armor, they continued to write letters to each other for the next several weeks, even a couple of months. Even they traveled to either Canterlot or Ponyville back and forth a few times for the next few months just to be each other. But then, around the time at the New Year, Starlight had asked if Shining Armor would like to come over for a visit, and he actually said yes to it. So he was actually happy to celebrate the first New Year's with her in Ponyville. And they talked about maybe next year they can be in Canterlot. And she said, yeah, why not? But over the next few months thereafter, Starlight started to feel kind of a little bit worried. She hadn't received any letters from Shining Armor for the next couple of weeks. She even asked Twilight if she knew what he hasn't written back, and she had also noticed. But then one day a letter came from Shining Armor explained why he hasn't replied to her for a while. It was because of that he was in northern part of Equestria for a drill, for a military training with some new cadets, which explained that he hasn't even talked to her for a while, which she accepted. But then, one day, Shining Armor didn't write back. Starlight became even now not that much worried. But then, she received a message from Twilight, who was in Canterlot at the time, that Shining Armor was sick. Seriously sick. Some of the doctors there couldn't even help him. They think that Shining Armor wouldn't survive much longer. He had a very high fever, and they could only lower the fever just a bit, not entirely. And they worried if he had a new disease or a flu or something. And even Starlight was afraid what was going to happen to Shining Armor. And she even asked Twilight to describe what condition and what symptoms Shining Armor had of the disease. And she wrote back. And even she also wrote that the doctors in Canterlot, in even Maidhaven, Crystal Empire, and almost an entire Equestria, even the royal sister had been asked what kind of disease he had. But no other opponents didn't know. And Starlight was now much afraid that it was true that she might lose him. So she spent almost an entire day and night searching in Twilight's library to find any book of cure of diseases. And she was hoping to find some disease mentioned in under the books, but none. Even Sakura had been asked about the disease, but she didn't know. And they had even asked Mage Medenbrook also, but unfortunately she didn't know either about this disease. So Starlight was about to almost give up the hope to find a cure. But then, while she was studying most of her books in the library just a second time, just to make sure she hasn't missed any detail of the books about this disease, in one of the books she found the illness. It was an ancient disease that has been extinct for at least several hundred years. And since that disease has not been around for several hundred years, there has not been no cure has not been mean for any doctors to attempt to rule that disease out. She even looked for the book to dispel if there were any spell or any cure. She was almost afraid this would say, "Known, no cure." But then she found in a page that said, "Only cure is the blue roses in the northern mountains." She was now afraid. She had to travel all the way to the northern mountains to find the cure. So she used an advanced teleportation spell to teleport her all the way to the northern mountains. But to do that, it requires a lot of power from magic for just one pony. But she would demand to do it even if it cost her own life. She managed to teleport even to the mountains, but doing that, it drained almost all her magic. She was almost exhausted from that, but she didn't care. She found the blue roses after a short search. But even she had drained almost all her magic, she used the teleportation spell, but not back to Ponyville, but this time to Canterlot, which was even further distant from the North Mountains and from Ponyville. But she didn't care either. Just when she arrived just outside the castle hospital, Twilight saw her, and she then explained why she is there. Then Starlight explained, but she was so exhausted, she said, "Found cure, blue roses, shining armor, too much teleportation spell," and she fainted. A doctor and 2 nurses took Starlight to a room to be examined, and they found out that she had used too much energy magic to teleport from a so great distance, just without any break. And even Twilight was impressed that she managed to do that, even just to drain so much of her magic. But she would be okay. All she needed was just some rest. The next day, when she woke up, she was afraid that Shining Armor was dead. But Twilight assured her that Shining Armor will be okay. She managed to bring the medicine back in time, just before it was too late. And Shining Armor would return back to health within a week or so. And 2 weeks after that, Shining Armor had been returned back to health. He was told about that what sacrifice Starlight almost did to save his life. He was even stunned to hear about it. He wanted to do something back for her, but he didn't know exactly what, until he found the right answer. He went to a local jewelry store and bought a ring, but not an ordinary ring, engagement ring. He went to Ponyville, where Starlight now was. Then he asked her to be his wife. And she was not even prepared for this. And he even proposed to her in front of all her friends in the cutie map room. And all of them were so excited, and even all of them started to cry, even Twilight. And Starlight said yes about this proposal. And they decided to have this wedding at least 2 months after. So all the preparations for this wedding was all going on. Rarity offered her help with the dress, and Applejack with the food, and Pinky with the party, and Twilight offered her help with organizing everything, since she is almost do that. And 2 months later, on the wedding day, they both were so excited, no one was nervous. The wedding was held in the castle at Pony, and they later on traveled to Manhattan for their honeymoon. And only a few years after, about 2 years after, Starlight found out that she was pregnant, and she had triplets. And she was actually happy to be a mother. And Channing Armour, he wasn't. He was so excited and even proud to be a father. And they had actually 3 sons. And they named them Strong Shield, Magic Shield, and Thunder Shield. And both Starlight and Shining Armor were so proud to have 3 sons, and to find their true love with each other could be a dream. They both were so happy to have found their special zone pony and even got married. They would actually loved their family so much, and they all promised to protect their family and friends from all kind of danger that could happen. And that's how Starlight and Shining Armor found their true love and got a big family. The end.